let's build a PowerApps quiz app together. So the idea of this app is going to be a chance for me to show you guys some of the different controls we don't use very often. So like radios and list boxes and ratings and just those type of controls we don't see a lot of. So we're going to use those. And then secondly, we're going to take the data, save the data, and push it off to our data source and compute a score along the way, right? So the idea here is just to make a fun little quiz app and give you a chance to get to know me a little better. Sound like fun? But first, here's our intro. Hi, my name is Shane Young with PowerApps 911. Those guys. And today we're going to build a PowerApps quiz app. And so the idea of a quiz app is just really an opportunity for us to talk about some of the controls that we don't see very often. And the reason we want to do that is just make sure that you understand that A, there are options for you to use, even though they're not super popular. B, how to get data in and out of them. And then once we kind of collected the data, we're also going to talk about how to compute a score. And so we're going to look at some of the different ways that I do that as we go through the process, right? So it's going to give us a chance to look at, just some different scenarios for those computational, like one of them is an if statement. I think they're all if statements, but some different ways that I kind of have to slice and dice it to get to the score we want. So just fun for thought. And of course, we'll take it at the end. We'll save it off to our data source. So easy enough. All right, let's switch over to my desktop and take a look at our PowerApps quiz app. Over here, let's just take the quiz to see what we're going to build, right? So, hey, how well do you know Shane? Let's go. So, what crazy hobby did Shane have in his 20s? Was it skydiving, motorcycle racing, Bigfoot hunting, or none? He was probably too chicken. He should have been too chicken. But in reality, he was a motorcycle racer. That's right. I've been 170 miles an hour on a motorcycle multiple times. It's a little crazy. Anyway, next. Does Shane have a cat? Nope. Yep. Right. So just a nice little toggle here. And so actually the answer here is nope. And the reason is I am actually allergic to cats. So there's a longer story for that. I'll save you, but basically I'm allergic to cats. So we'll say next. How does his hair look today? Ooh, I know it's beautiful. Let's give me 5 stars. Next. Oh, how many hole-in-ones has he made? I have actually made 2 hole-in-ones, right? I am a terrible golfer, just to be honest. Right. The first one was a really nice shot. It was good. I'll take credit for that one. The second one was a terrible shot. Just careened into a hill, came flying across, hit the flag stick and went in. It was bad, but yeah, hole-in-one's hole-in-one. So there you go. Next. And then what foods does Shane eat? So all those fancy things you see there, the only one I really eat is Chick-fil-A. I don't like cheese. I don't like tomatoes. I don't like sushi. Oh, and I do not, right? I cannot eat spicy stuff. My wife is the spicy food eater of the family. So do next. Ta-da! We got 100. And then if we say save, it goes off to wherever. So there you go. So that's what we want to build a version of. Oh yeah, before I forget, got 2 live training classes coming up this month, right? So there's a live 5-day model-driven apps class. So Juan from my team is going to teach that, and then we're going to deep dive into all things model-driven and Dataverse. Pretty exciting. The first class sold out, so sign up for that one quickly. And that's in a couple weeks. And then the week after that, I'm going to teach my world-famous PowerApps and Power Automate for App Builders course, which is 5 glorious live days with this guy going through all the things about PowerApps and Power Automate, right? I refer to that as the, you've been faking it until you make it. That's the class that's going to take those skills, solidify them, and make you awesome at PowerApps. Now, so to do this, we're going to just kind of start over here with a simple new screen, right? So we'll do a blank app, create, and then we will call this quiz app video. And we're going to do phone, right? Phone or tablet wouldn't really matter here. I just chose phone because I thought this one fit really nicely, little tight little screens. And so then speaking of phone, while it's getting things ready, so you saw I had that nice little background here, right? So the way that I've been doing those, if you haven't seen it in other videos, is I've been using Canva. And so in the case of this format, right, this is what they would call creative design. This is what they'd call a Instagram story, right? So 1080 by 1920, right? Wide and then taller. So I would choose something like an Instagram story, and I just jump over here and I go to templates and I literally just search for quiz. You can see it's my recent searches. And then I just kind of flip through these like, oh, that looks cute. And then I said, you know what though? I don't want all this. So we'll just delete that out. We'll delete this out. And I just kind of clean up. Let's see, can I do this? There we go. There you go. So now I got a great background, and then I would just take this thing and say download it. After a couple of seconds, it finished downloading. And so then now over here in my Power App, on this first screen here, we're just going to go to background image, add an image file, look in my downloads, untitled design. And after a moment, look at that. Now we have a nice background for our app. So remember, that's been one of my big tricks before. And we're not going to go through that in more detail, but things to then keep in mind, like you notice over here, my, my buttons and stuff. So I used color pickers to figure out what this red and yellow were. And so then I made my buttons and things like that, those flavors, right? So that's how I kind of got a consistent color scheme without me, the guy who's bad at colors, doing colors. So we're not going to do all that, but there you go. So now we're just going to insert a button. And then we'll just throw this down here, right? And so this was the whole, start. Okay. So then now we're going to do another new screen. Now you can do it one of two ways. So we can either do new screen here and then do blank, or we could just say, you know what? I'm going to duplicate this screen. So then this screen has that button, remember, because you probably stylized your button, and it kind of has that background going there. So whatever works best for you. Okay, so for the first one, what did we do? I believed we asked questions around, I forget. Oh, it was hobby. Okay, so which one of these hobbies? So to do that, that's a radio control. So over here, we're going to say insert, and we can just search for radio. There we go. And now we'll drop it down here. So a radio control, it is a lot like a drop down, right? And it's like a drop down for a couple reasons. One, it has an items property. So the items property is just a table. So whether I was pulling that from a data source, like my SharePoint list, or if I just wanted to hard code something like, what were other hobbies? So I had basketball, I had tennis, I had baseball, right? So remember, this is that shorthand function for building a table on the fly. And so now we've got those three as options. Just like a drop-down, radios can only have one answer. You can only select one. And so in this case, we just want to select basketball. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, click basketball. We'll kind of resize this a little bit. And so then the way that you get that data out of there with a radio is you're going to go down here and you're going to type in the control name, not radians, radio. And then you're going to do a dot selected. That gives you the whole record, just like a drop down. So you just do another drop, another dot, and dot value. And so then that gives you baseball, right? And if I click on baseball, I get baseball, tennis, basketball, right? So I played basketball in high school, so we'll go with basketball here. But there you go. Quiz time, basketball. So that would be how we would use a radio button, okay? So now what we're going to do is instead of saving the data, we're going to build all the screens, and then we'll go through and save the data all together at the end. So that looks good. So now all I want to do is I'm just going to take this first screen again. I'm going to duplicate it. And so then now for the second one, what did we have? We had a toggle, right? Does Shane have a cat? And so here, insert, we will search for the toggle, right? So toggles are just yes, no controls, right? Or true, false. And so with a toggle, remember that you can change the things like the false text. So right now it says off because that is the false text. So if we wanted to say no way, then we can do that. And then we can kind of, slide this thing around until we make it look the way we want. I'll be honest, toggles are kind of annoying, right? They're not, when it comes to getting the words that go with them to, update. But false text, you could also set the false fill. So right now it's a grayed out because what you might, often I'll leave that one grayed out, but I'll go down here to like the true, so change the true text and change the true fill. And then this way I could say, you know what? I want to make this green. And so then now if I press the button, it goes green, right? And that's probably not enough contrast, but you get the idea. And then we could change the true text. Okay. Now, no matter what you put in for the text though, with the toggle, what you're going to see, insert a text label, is that toggles just return true or false. So toggle one dot value is true if it's on, and it's false if it's off, right? So it's not returning that text. Remember, a radio control to return the text you're choosing. This is just going to return the Boolean of true or false. So you could use that to make decisions on whether or not things show up. In your if statement, you could say if toggle.value, right? Not if toggle.value equals true. So there's a lot of flexibility there. So there you go. There's a toggle. We'll just duplicate the screen again. Duplicate. And so then now what we had the hair. And so for that is a ratings control. The ratings control seems super interesting. I don't ever actually end up using the ratings control, right? Why is that? The reason is that it doesn't do partial stars. So yes, I can let you provide ratings 1 to 5 in this case, but what if I'm showing it back later and we're averaging and it averages out to 3.5? There's no way to show 3.5 stars. And that tends to where the rating concept breaks down. Now with ratings, you can set the default. So it's currently at 3. You can also set the max. So if you wanted to have 10 stars, you definitely can. They just get smaller. So ratings control, it looks interesting. It never works out for me, I'll be honest. So, but if we throw a text label, how do we get the data out of a ratings control? Super easy. It's going to be control name dot value. And in this case, it's just going to return the number of stars. So if I go click 5 stars or 6 stars, whatever that is, now it returns a 6. Okay. Easy enough, right? It returns a number based on the number of stars you have chosen. Okay, next up, duplicate a screen. And for this one, what do we have? Oh, how many hole-in-ones? So this one we used a slider. So sliders are a little bit more popular. And one of the things I really try to stress on people, so let's insert a slider real quick, is that sliders can be used, a lot of cases, like if you're doing a mobile app and you want to do number entry. So say like someone's walking around your office and they're having to capture the temperature the thermostats are all set at, right? And so, it's basically going to be from 65 to 75. So you give them a slider that was just from 65 to 75. And so instead of them clicking and typing on a virtual keyboard, they can just grab their little finger and drag it over to 72 or back down to 66, right? So you have that ability with a slider, right? Alt key, and you can just move this little puppy around. You can set them in the max. Also, another thing people don't know about sliders is that you can go over here to layout and go to vertical. And then now it's a up and down slider, right? Still does the same thing, still same numbers, just now you're moving up and down. So maybe that would make more sense if you were setting the temperature in the room. So sliders can really help you make good designs, especially on mobile apps. So, and if you're thinking, Shane, how'd you know that did that, right? One of the things I do when I get a control like this is I explore it. I just hit this drop down and I ask myself, do I understand what handle size is and handle fill and active handle fill? And if I don't, then I change them to something crazy. So then it's really obvious to me, like I just go here to handle active fill and I'm like, you know what? Make this thing red. Make it red. And so then now if I go here and hit play, right, and we move it, look, so that's when you're dragging it, it turns red. And by making it an obnoxious color, it was easier for me to find. So same thing, I'd make it a giant number size-wise if I was messing with the size thing. Anyway, so text label, and then the slider, super easy, just like the rating control. We're going to say slider dot value, and that's going to give you the number that they slid to. Cool? Cool. All right, one more, and this one's a little bit more tricky, so let's duplicate one of our last screens. And so for this last one here, we inserted a list box, right? So list box right here, and I guess I should have showed you right here, but hopefully you remember. So foods. So a list box is a lot like a combo box. Why? Because with a list box, you can select multiple, right? So first the items wants to have some different items. So like if we go back up here to our radio, remember, just a single column table. So if we just go put that here, that would work. But you could also connect this to your Dataverse table, your SharePoint list, your SQL, anywhere you're getting a table of results, right? It just wants a table. It doesn't care how you get there. But now it's got a table. If we hit play, one of the neat things about it is we can choose two things, right? So just like a combo box, we can select multiple. If you select multiple, how do you get multiple out of there, right? We have to use that crazy concat function. So concat, and then we'd say listbox1 dot. So we have selected items. Remember, selected items is the table of results. And then what field do you want? You want value. And so then now you can see that it is saying, hey, you selected basketball and baseball. Remember with concat, you have an optional parameter where you can do that. And now they are semicolon separated. So baseball, basketball. If I click tennis, it goes in there. If I deselect tennis and basketball, now it's just baseball, etc. Right? So list boxes are very interesting in that they have the ability to allow you to select multiples. And what I don't know is, can you turn off select multiples? Yeah, there you go. So select multiples. So just like a combo box, you can turn it off. You can do that. Remember with your list box, if you are not paying attention, you could have also said, hey, list box 1 dot selected. And so if you do dot selected, that's like a drop down. That is just the last record you selected. So selected dot value. And so that only gives you tennis, even though they did tennis and baseball. So combo boxes, list boxes, both of them are the same. Be careful. You have to understand the difference between selected and selected items. Selected, the last record you selected. Selected items, a table of all the records. But getting it out of selected items requires something like Concat if you want to turn that into text. And now that we've ran through all the controls, we're going to switch back to the original app, right? We're not going to build all this logic. There's a lot of typing that goes in here. But so now let's talk about how we would save that. Okay? So let's run through these little puppies one at a time. So down here, the first screen, right? Well, obviously the first screen, what do? So on this one, on select, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to clear coal answers. So coal answers is a collection we're about to make where we're storing the answers they're providing. Reset radio 1 is resetting the control radio 1 over here on the hobby screen so it's back to its default value and then navigating to the hobby screen. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so then over here we had our lovely little radio just like we said we would. And what did we do on next here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a collection called coal answers, right? So collect into that collection. There's going to be a field called question. And so the question here is going to be hobby. And then the answer, I'm going to put the text answer for each one of these in here. And so in this case, I'm going to take radio 1 selected value. So we did motorcycle racing. So that would be the answer. And then there's a points column. So this is where I'm grading the quiz as they go. So I'm going to say, hey, if radio 1 selected value equals motorcycle racing, which is the true thing that I did back in my 20s, don't know how I survived, then give them 20 points, right? So we'd set the points to 20. If that's not true, set the points to 0. Now, technically, you don't need the comma 0, but I put that there to make it easier to follow along. So that's going to do all that. That will load this collection up. And we're going to look at the collection as soon as we press the button. And then we will reset toggle 1, which is the control on the cat screen, and then navigate to the cat screen. So let's try it. So we're going to select motorcycle racing. We're going to say next. And now if we want, we're here on cat, right? We'll click here. Before we explore this, we'll click on coal answers, and you're going to see that in my collection, we have answer, motorcycle racing, points, 20, because I got it right, question, hobby. So this is going to be what we're going to do. For every one of these, we're going to capture what they answered, and we're going to do the points. So at the end, we can just add up the points and find out how they did on the quiz. Okay, so on this one, a little bit different though, right? Because every one, we have a different control, so the way we're going to calculate the points will be slightly different. So question is cat, answer. So here, I didn't want to store true or false. I wanted to store yep or nope, or yes or no, whatever you wanted, right? But I said, hey, if toggle 1 value, so if this is true, store yep. If this is false, store nope, right? We didn't have to write. You could have written equals true, but that's redundant. And that makes me really angry when people do it. But that's how, that'd be the more, written out way. So then points, I just said, hey, if toggle 1 value is true, so if I said I had a cat, which is wrong, give them 0 points. If not, give them 20. And so in this case, we'll say that I had a cat. So we'll hold down the Alt key. We'll say yes. And then we will say next here. And now when we land on this screen, let's kind of collapse these up again. If we look at coal answers now, motorcycle racing is still there. And then yep is here, but it got 0 points. And the question is cat. Okay. For this one, we said question is hair. Answer is take the rating value. So if right now it's a 3 and turn that from the number 3 into the text 3, right? Because you can't store a number in a text column or a text in a number column. So I had to get the number 3 back to a text format so it would not cause a data mismatch for answer. And then I said for points, take whatever the rating value is. So in this case, they did 3 and multiply it by 4. So basically, I'm giving you 4 points. If you give my hair 1 star, your quiz gets 4 points. If you give my hair 5 star, you get the maximum 20 points. 3 is going to get you 12 points. So that was how I wanted to grade this one, right? Basically, the number of stars you give my beautiful, terrible hair, you're going to get points that way. Okay, so we'll press the button. And then if we look again at our friend Cole answer, what we're going to see, right? There's 3, 12 points, and hair. Okay. For the slider here, so question golf, answer, turn the slider value. Remember, values are numbers, so turn the number into text again. And I said, hey, if slider value equals 2, give them 20 points. If not, 0. So basically, this was an all or nothing. If you knew that I had 2 hole-in-ones, right? There's a picture of one of them. Then you got 20 points. If you miss it, you get 0. So that was how we calculated this one. And so in this case, we will know that Shane had 2. And we'll say next. Remember, I'm a terrible golfer. I'm not bragging. I stink at golf. Just lucky. And so then finally here, if we go to Cole answers, all right, so there's the 2, there's the 20 in golf. Okay, this one, the last one's a little bit harder. So this one, you silly thing. So for this one, what foods does Shane eat? Right, so this was a table of some food choices, and then people could come in here and select whatever they wanted. And so this one to grade was harder. So answer, concat whatever they did, that's easy. But the points, I said, hey, only if the list box selected value equals Chick-fil-A and count rows of list box selected items equals 1, right? Because in this case, there's only one right answer, but they could have chosen 3, 4, 5 of those. And so I didn't want them to get full points. I didn't want them to get any points if they chose Chick-fil-A and sushi. Yeah. So what I needed to do was make sure that they selected Chick-fil-A, right? So selected value should be the only thing selected. So that should return Chick-fil-A. And count rows, so count the number of things in that table, and then give me, only give 1, right? Because if we do this, so we can test it, right? If we choose tomatoes and Chick-fil-A, if you look up here, right? Because remember, you can kind of check. So we would say, hey, does list box selected value equal Chick-fil-A? That is true, because Chick-fil-A was the last thing I selected. Okay, that's true. But and count rows, what is that? That is 2. So does 2 equal 1? False. So a true and a false equals false. And so they're going to get 0 points, even though they kind of got it right. But by saying I like those yucky tomatoes, they lost. Okay, so we'll press that. Look, you got a 52, and then there's a very stern face. All I did here, this is just an image control, and I said, hey, if Cole answer points equals 100, then use the image name 3. So the one of me smiling was the image 3, and this one's buddy was choose 4, right? No, my image names are not right. But basically, the grumpy face, if you didn't get 100, the happy face if you did. And so there's just one image control, and we're just toggling the image based on the score that you got. You got a 52. All that's doing is summing up Cole answered points. Remember, so Cole answers, they're just basically looking at the points column, saying 20, 32, 52. So that's how it got to 52. The save, super easy. We're going to patch a SharePoint list. It could be any data source, but we're going to patch my SharePoint list called quiz scores. Defaults quiz scores means create a new record. Set the title to the concatenation of all the answers, and then set the final score to the numbers, and then navigate to welcome. So let's just press that. And then remember a little trick, if you want to jump to that SharePoint list, so there's quiz scores, we would just go here and say edit data. This will take us straight to our SharePoint list, and we're going to see down here, motorcycle racing, yep, 3, 2, tomatoes, Chick-fil-A. So that's the answers they gave. That got them 52 points. And there you go, folks. You have a quiz app that saves data. Remember also, you might want to consider other tools if you're really just making a quiz, right? So Microsoft Forms is sometimes used to do quizzes. Your quiz could be more complex, right? Really, my goal was not as much about the quiz. It was about showing you the different controls and getting you to piece the puzzles together. But I can tell you that since 70,000 plus people watched the first version of this video, that it turns out that people kind of are interested in quizzes in PowerApps. So there you go. Now you can grade them. Yeah. So thoughts, questions, comments, leave them below. I read most of them and try to respond to as many as I can. Also, if you just want to download the whole working app, remember you can go to training.powerapps911.com, and out there's the YouTube library, and that would make that available for you. Yeah, and with that, I'm going to say thanks and have a great day. Hey, me again. Before you go, click on the subscribe button, right? Join the list of 100,000 plus people that have subscribed already. Or if you need any help, right? Check us out at PowerApps 911. We do big projects, little projects. We do training. We do everything, and we can help you. Or if you want to see more videos, you probably do, then just click on the playlist above. Cool? Thanks, and have a great day.